Hi again. In my last video, we talked about tree pose and I promised a few movements that might help you if you're having trouble with your tree or trouble with your balance even. So let's get right into it. So if balance in general is an issue, there are a couple of things, and actually I should preface this with these might be helpful. A lot depends on what's actually going on in your body, so try it out. It's always an experiment to see what effect does this movement or what effect does this stimulus have on me. So first of all, I would suggest just settling. Find a nice easy breath. Yeah, the more that if our system is sort of head up or our mind is really racing, if we're tense and stressed, that can really affect our balance because it's not just about our bones and muscles, it's about our whole system. So, take a moment to just really settle, find a nice steady breath. And the first thing I'm going to look at is feet, because our feet, of course, are what's kind of connecting to the floor in our tree pose. And so if our feet are stiff, there's a lot of little muscles in the feet and ankles that help with balancing when we're standing on the one foot. And you'll feel that, especially if you're balancing in the sand. So we want our feet to be supple. So we can take a ball and just sort of massage the bottom, roll the bottom of our foot side to side, back and front. You can keep your heel on the floor. And you can do this also sitting down if you prefer than standing. You can have to balance a little bit to do it when you're standing. And if you're like, well, I don't have a ball, you get tennis balls. They're super cheap at the dollar store. Or you can even just massage your foot. Now, normally I would do this sitting down, but you can just massage the bottom of your foot, the top of your foot. Be gentle. I often share the story about how I got a little overzealous and I bruised the bottom of my foot because I pushed too hard. Yeah, don't do that. Be gentle. Give your feet some love. Yeah? And after you've rolled one foot, just kind of compare it to the other. See how it feels. And then, of course, do the other side. So that's one thing that can help with finding a better footing, if you will. Another thing that can help with balance shifting is to come into a little chair sit, and I'm going to use the wall here to come into just a little chair, not like make my quads burn chair. And feel those 3 points of your feet, so the center of your heel, and then the ball of your foot on the toe and baby toe side, so it's like a tripod. These are actually arches in your feet, which is pretty cool. All right, and then just find your weight in both feet and slowly shift your weight into one leg and into the other. So it's like I think I'm pouring like wet sand from one side to the other, just gently shifting. And you notice what I'm not doing is this. So I'm trying to really just think about this leg getting heavier, this foot getting heavier, this leg getting heavier, this foot getting heavier. And you can play around with that back and forth. So that can be helpful on the balancing side. Let's take a quick look at legs and pelvis. So we need the leg to be able to rotate and come into flexion for this. So again, this might or might not be the thing that helps you, but here's one thing that might. So I'm going to show you a couple things. Lying down on our backs, where now we can feel the pelvis on the floor and really be aware of if it's shifting back and forth. And the first thing I'm going to do is just a simple butterfly. So the legs come out and back in, and out and back in. I'm going to just turn a little bit so you can see that, I'm not moving my feet, like I'm not bringing them together. I'm just letting the legs come out and in, and I'm checking in my hip flexors here. They're going to stay relaxed because the hip flexors don't need to work to take the legs out to the side. So we're working a little bit rotation, a little bit abduction, and moving out to the side. Easy through here. And then you can do one leg at a time. You probably won't go as far. And again, you're only going as far as your pelvis doesn't move. You can see I can go further and my pelvis shifts. So you can sort of find where your range is, and you're moving where it's just easy, smooth, no gripping here. then you could play with the rotation here by bringing one leg up and rotating the leg in the socket. And maybe bringing that heel onto the other leg and finding some more rotation here. And I'm going to change angles once again because I find this can be a hard thing to get. The rotation, kind of like a mortar and a pestle. So it's not this and it's not circles. Although there's nothing wrong with either of those two movements. They're perfectly great and you might find those helpful in fact. But I'm doing a little rotation here and then I'm just bending the knee to lower the leg. And your foot might or might not hit the other leg. Here's a trick, you can slide that leg out and then that knee gets a little bit closer, yeah. And then again, you can rotate this leg bone. And you're always again checking in with what's going in with your pelvis. Can you let the pelvis just be stable so the leg's moving but the pelvis is not? And then when we think pelvis to ribs, so we're not twisting, or we're aware at least of any twisting that wants to happen there. We can come into a nice easy twist. And in the twist, I like to sometimes let the legs go and see at what point the legs pull my pelvis around. Shoulders are easy on the ground. And you can come to one side and just maybe pause there for a few breaths. Or slowly go side to side. And now you might be thinking, but Catherine, you said you didn't want the twist to happen in your tree. Yeah, fair enough. But here we're at least getting those muscles sort of online. We're kind of becoming aware of that connection of the legs to the pelvis, to the spine and the ribs and the shoulders. Yeah. Okay, oh yes, one more. So in terms of not having the twist happen and sort of training more this connection between the ribs and the hips staying the same, we can find some. Bridge is one movement that might or might not be helpful. And for this particular kind of bridge, we're going to think about the spine being a unit from pelvis up to kind of the middle low rib cage. So I'm not doing the roll up because when I do the roll up, this is my relationship here is changing. Nothing wrong with the roll up, but that's not what we want to cultivate in tree. That we don't want to have this happen in tree, yeah? So instead, I'm going to think about just my hips, my pelvis lifting, and this angle changing here. So my hips lift and lower back down. Hopefully I'm doing that well. And lift. Or I can bring my hands here and check what's going on in this connection here, that it's staying the same. And actually, I'm moving a little bit too much. So I'm going to go a little smaller so that I'm not having that break between my ribs and my pelvis, yeah? All right, so those are just a few moves that might, or might not, help you find a little more freedom in your tree pose. Have fun exploring. Thanks for watching.